very good morning to you all, and welcome to today's Clusters Talks, today organised in collaboration with the Enterprise Europe Network. Now, you've heard of the Green Deal, but there is now the Clean Industrial Deal, and we're going to be talking about that deal in action, from policy to practice. And part of this is the aim of Europe to become a decarbonised economy by 2050. It's bringing together energy-intensive industries with clean tech. And clean tech, I must say, is something I've talked about a lot, and it really is an opportunity for Europe to become more competitive and to really invest forward. It's going to also cover all the following elements: affordable energy, boosting demand for clean products, and financing the clean transition, as well as circularity and access to materials. So a wealth of things that we can all get behind. We're going to talk about all of that this morning. First of all, a little bit of housekeeping as usual. On the agenda, we will start, as always, with the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Then we will have our representative from DG Grow to tell us about the Clean Industrial Deal, really go into the details, followed by our panel debate, and finally wrapping up, as always, with the funding opportunities going forward. We're going to use Slido, as we have been doing, to get a sense of what people think about the issues. So please use the QR code. We'll go to that when we get there. Use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen to ask questions, and the chat function to comment or share links. We'll be sharing links as people mention them in the chats as we go through, so don't worry about finding things. They'll all be there in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on it as well, but if you really want to float your question to the top of the list, do use the Q&A function. If you would like to join in the conversation, there's a raise hand option. There's a button there at the bottom of the screen as well. Do that and we will get the team together and we will give you the floor. You can switch on your microphone and speak directly to our panelists and put on your video even if you want. But if you do, please remember that the session is recorded and will be shared later on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, so you can watch things going forward. I said we were going to start with the news, so I think I can right now hand over to the team member, Nina Hoffman, to tell us what's going on. Nina, over to you.
Many thanks, Jennifer, and good morning to everyone to this EU Clusters talk. Let me share what's going on in the ECCP and also some interesting news in the European scene that should probably be of your interest. So we have, as you might have already seen, the 2025 Commission Work Programme that is published and that you can find online, which focuses on competitiveness, security and economic resilience to make EU policies and laws work better and faster. There's several key priorities, of course, looking into prosperity and competitiveness, defense and security, but also into sustaining our quality of life and protecting democracy and upholding our values. You can read the Commission Work Programme, the link is in the chat, and to see what priorities are set out in detail and what it might also mean for our industry and your work. And we would also like to highlight the 10th European Conference on Corporate R&D and Innovation, which will take place on the 24th until the 26th of September in Seville in Spain. It's a science for policy forum that brings together different actors from academics, from the policy side, but also industrial leaders to discuss policy challenges, to bring together R&D, innovation and industry. And the focus of this event will be on strategic technologies, but also on private investment, technological autonomy, and how to leverage the Green Deal for business opportunities. Registration will open soon in May, I believe, but you can also already save the date in your calendar. Registration is open for the EIC Summit, which is taking place on the 2nd and 3rd of April in Brussels. This focuses on the deep tech landscape in Europe, and you can have a look at the EIC projects that are being funded, and they will demonstrate how they bring about innovation on their path to the market. The registration can be done via the link that the colleague will share in the chat. Another event which is more focused on new projects is the EC2 Lab that we will celebrate in Esbjerg in Denmark in the beginning of May on the 6th and 7th, together with the Energy Cluster Denmark. We will talk about your project ideas to accelerate the energy transition. You can meet new partners to discuss those ideas and to initiate your collaboration by drafting the first structure of your next project to facilitate the energy transition. There are different challenges that are defined for this workshop that you can find on the website, and have a look at that in case you want to attend and want to work with other members of clusters or with cluster organizations themselves on your next projects related to energy transition. And there are also more ECCP events that we have in store for you. You might know the Clusters Meet Region format, where we bring together policymakers and also clusters together in the regions to discuss the involvement of clusters in policy and to enhance the competitiveness of the region. We have events that are taking place in Germany, in Romania, in the Netherlands, in Poland, in Spain, in Italy, and in Slovenia. And there are also matchmaking events, and as I said, also the regions. So have a look at all the ECCP events that are taking place this year, and registrations for some of them is already open, and for some of them you can already save the date. So have a look at the ECCP website for all the details. And with that, I hand over back to you so that we can get started with the topic.
Thanks, Nina. And indeed, I see in the chat lots of people from Romania, Poland, Austria, Finland, Italy joining us this morning. So a big hello to all of you, and keep an eye on those Clusters Meets the Regions events indeed. Turning now to the topic at hand today, the Clean Industrial Deal. We're going to hear now from Zuzana Jednavarova, who is Policy Officer in DG GROW at the European Commission. Zuzana, thank you so much for joining us. Talk us through this initiative and explain why it might be so important for us going forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present the Clean Industrial Deal at this cluster talk. The Clean Industrial Deal is an important part of the competitiveness compass, which has been presented at the end of January, and which lays the overall industrial strategy for the next years. The EU and its industry face three urgent challenges at once: climate crisis, competitiveness concerns, and economic resilience. Against this background, the Clean Industrial Deal represents the Commission's plan for competitiveness and decarbonisation. With rising geopolitical tensions, this strategy is also a security imperative. Decarbonisation must be seen as a driver for growth and competitiveness in Europe. And we see it with the high cost of energy that weigh on European citizens and penalizes European industry in global competition. This sheds the light on the urgency to reduce the EU's dependency on fossil fuels. The Clean Industrial Deal communication is focused on two closely linked sectors that also Jennifer has highlighted: the energy-intensive industries, because these require urgent support to decarbonize, electrify, as well as confront high energy costs, unfair global competition, and complex regulations, which are harming their competitiveness. Secondly, the clean tech sector, which is at the heart of future competitiveness and is necessary for industrial transformation, circularity, and decarbonisation. The Clean Industrial Deal, adopted on the 26th of February, therefore brings forward concrete initiatives to strengthen the business case for competitiveness and decarbonisation in Europe. In particular, it announces action in 6 areas, 6 business drivers, from improving access to affordable energy, lead markets, materials and circularity, funding and finance, and strengthening economic security and skills. Let me walk you through briefly those 6 drivers. So speaking about the access to affordable energy, Energy and electricity prices are the main concern of industry. This is what the data clearly points out, and also the feedback from the industry. For energy-intensive industries, energy cost represents up to 40% of production costs, and imports pressure is increasing. In that regard, the Clean Industrial Deal puts forward initiatives to stimulate the uptake of power purchase agreement, and also contracts for difference, which are key to make clean energy production more attractive for industrial users. To meet the industry needs, the Clean Industrial Deal also announces counter guarantees to facilitate the uptake of corporate PPAs, for instance, through EIB pilot program. Energy-intensive industries also need a steady and secure supply of clean and affordable energy, and lengthy permit granting processes are major concerns for EIIs that want to electrify. The Industrial Decarbonisation Accelerator Act will aim at tackling permitting bottlenecks, streamlining and speeding up permitting and administrative procedures to facilitate access to energy infrastructure for energy-intensive industries. Also, I would mention in this regard the Affordable Energy Action Plan that has put forward more general measures to bring prices down and has been proposed at the same time. Now, looking at the lead markets, access to lead markets for clean products is key for business case of decarbonisation to be viable. So the Clean Industrial Deal proposes as a first step creating and promoting a critical mass of demand, and in this regard, defining low carbon labels for products, for instance, for steel and cement. The Industrial Decarbonisation Accelerator Act will be a key tool to support European lead markets for the development, production, and diffusion of clean tech in industry, in particular for energy-intensive sectors. The Commission will also propose a revision of public procurement framework in 2026. This will allow for resilience and sustainability criteria in public procurement as demand levers. Looking at the access to materials and circularity, the Commission is already turning the objectives of the Critical Raw Materials Act into a reality, with the announcement of a first list of strategic projects that will strengthen the EU capacity for extraction, processing, and recycling of strategic raw materials. Moreover, the Clean Industrial Deal announces further concrete actions such as creation of Critical Raw Materials Center to jointly purchase raw materials, and also the Circular Economy Act that will improve the functioning of the single market for waste and boost the supply of secondary materials. Looking at the access to funding, which is an essential driver of the decarbonisation and also essential for development and implementation of cutting-edge solutions, there again, the Clean Industrial Deal sets the direction, announcing the Industrial Decarbonisation Bank that will mobilize up to 100 billion based on available funds in the Innovation Fund, additional revenues from parts of the ETS, as well as the revision of InvestEU. The Clean Industrial Deal also announces actions to increase the InvestEU risk-bearing capacity by increasing the amount of financial guarantees that InvestEU can provide to support investments. This will in turn mobilize up to 50 billion for the deployment of clean tech, clean mobility, and waste reduction. Further de-risking will be also available through EIB new initiatives. If we look on the global scale, acting on global scale, the Commission will soon launch the first clean trade and investment partnerships to diversify supply chain and forge mutual beneficial deals. It will also simplify and strengthen the carbon border adjustment mechanism as a first step to make it more effective. So there, the omnibus package has been put forward on the 26th of February. And in the next steps, the Commission will review the CBAM and possibly extend the mechanism to other ETS and downstream sectors, close loopholes, and ensure that the tools work effectively for producers, importers, and exporters. The Commission sees also the opportunity to improve, in collaboration with member states, the consistency of the foreign direct investment policies and FDI screening. The objective is to make sure that the foreign direct investments better contribute to long-term competitiveness. And looking at the last, the sixth business driver, skills, there it's clear that EU's ability to match the needs for the new skills and to create quality jobs in the context of industrial transformation will be key for the success of the Green Deal and its social fairness, as for competitiveness. The unions of skills strategy will invest in workers and skills, and with the quality jobs roadmap, the Commission will discuss with social partners a framework to support restructuring processes at EU and member states level, anticipate change, and ensure fair transition. To conclude, the Clean Industrial Deal represents the Commission's plan for competitiveness and decarbonisation, outlines a set of concrete actions, legislative and non-legislative, to turn decarbonisation into a driver of growth for European industries, from lowering energy prices, creating quality jobs, and the right conditions for companies to thrive. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Indeed, that was quite an intense tour through the Clean Industrial Deal. And as Nina has mentioned in the chat, it is, of course, recorded. So if anyone wants to go back and check some of those finer details, they can do so. We'll move now to our question point of today. We have said that we're going to try and take the temperature of those here in the clusters talk this morning. So please join Slido. You can go to slido.com on your browser and put in CID for Clean Industrial Deal, or you can scan that QR code there that you see on the screen using your smartphone. So please do that, because we do want you to take part in our questions. And we can have a look, I think, at the first question to you now, which is, which aspect of the Clean Industrial Deal do you find most relevant for your organization? This is an open question, so you can write down whatever you want. We'll hopefully generate a word cloud. I see some participants already typing. I'll give you a few moments just to put in which aspect you think is going to be most relevant. And as always with this, there's no wrong answers. This is just to get a sense of what elements are really catching people's attention. So we see there energy efficiency, low carbon, circularity, competitiveness, clean and affordable energy. So a couple of energy levels there. Alternative materials, which is, of course, absolutely part of the Green Industrial Deal. It's about making things more circular and also finding new ways of doing things with clean tech. I'll let those come up a little bit longer. Yes, people also mentioning things there like CBAM and the circular economy, as well as reskilling and upskilling. These things always come up when we have the talks because skills are so important. Bio-based materials, indeed part of those alternative materials elements. Strengthen European competitiveness and sustainable development. But there you see their competitiveness, clearly most people getting involved from the competitiveness point of view, because the larger the word, the more people are mentioning it. I think we can move on. I see just two more people typing. We can move on there. We've had 23 responses with competitiveness clearly coming out on top, but also clean, bio-based materials, low carbon, circular economy, and sustainable technologies, all very important there as well in our very non-scientific poll. Let's have a look, Nina, at the next question for now. And this one's a voting one. We're giving you options this time. What is the biggest skills gap in your organization related to the clean industrial transformation? Clean energy decarbonisation, digitalisation and automation, circular economy and materials, policy and funding navigation, or other. And we've put specify in the chat if you want to click other. We are happy to see what those others are in the chat. So there we go. What are the biggest skills gap? I did mention when we were looking at the word cloud that skills always come up as something we talk about. So digitalization and automation coming up there on top. So we'll let a few more people vote to get a bit more of a representative response. And I suppose it's probably worth saying digitalization is something that comes up across the board, regardless of the topic we're talking about. Some statistics show that many Europeans are falling behind in digital skills. So circular economy and materials management, and also there as important and coming out in front now. I feel a little bit like it's a horse race. 5% saying other, 5% saying clean energy and decarbonisation. So those are a little bit lower. Policy and funding navigation, a quarter of respondents say that, and digitalisation and automation, 30%, circular economy and materials management, 35%. So I can see that we've had 65 attendees in the clusters talk this morning, but only 20 of you responded to that poll. So it's not necessarily representative. So do make sure you share your thoughts using the chat or using the Q&A. I think, Nina, let's move on to our panel discussion. We've got another poll question asking, what is the main financial barrier preventing your organisation and members from investing in clean tech? Lack of public funding, high upfront costs, difficulty accessing private investment, uncertain ROI, or indeed other once again. Let's have a look. This is a pretty active poll. My goodness, plenty of people, all sorts of reasons. But in this case, no one's saying other. It's always one of these few that we thought it might be. And of course, we've come up with these suggestions because we think this is from talking to people, this is what the main issues are. So very equally split between the different reasons for investing in clean tech. Lack of public funding coming up, because we would always like more public funding. High upfront costs also important. Uncertain return on investment also important. And a little bit less important is the difficulty in accessing private investment. So a few more people voting on that. And okay, we'll take this one as read. Lack of public funding and high upfront costs there. The main reasons that people are not investing in clean tech, or at least the main barriers that must be overcome if people want to invest in clean tech. So let's move on to our panel discussion, and we'll hear what our experts who've joined us this morning have to say about some of those polls. We have Professor Dr. Hannes Uitka, project lead at the Cluster Process for Sustainability from the Po Valley School of International Management and Technology. Katia Ferrari is the cluster manager at Cluster Green Tech. Oina Reita is executive director of the Transylvania Energy Cluster, and Stefan Heledi is international business consultant from the North Denmark EU office from our colleagues supporting us today, Enterprise Europe Network. So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. If we can get your cameras all switched on, we'll start our panel discussion. And I'll just give the floor to each of you initially to tell us a little bit about your thoughts and about what you're working on and where that intersects with our topic today, the CID. So Hannes, let me start with you. Tell me why you think it's important that we're discussing this today.
So I'm based in Frankfurt, Germany, at a chemical park, the Höchst Industrial Park. There we've got 90 companies on site from the chemical and pharmaceutical industry. And we can observe that companies struggle with competitiveness today already. And very often the business case for transforming is not really given. So the topic on how we can strengthen this competitiveness in order to accelerate the transition and make it a business case is key for us.
Katia, let's hear from you again. Just your opening thoughts on why we should be discussing today.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. I'm the cluster manager of Green Tech, the Energy and Sustainable Development Cluster of Emilia-Romagna in Italy. Our region is very populated and also industrialized. And the main challenge that we as a cluster, we have more than 100 of members, 60% are companies. The other are research center and training institutions. And we support also the policymaker in our region to define the strategies to decarbonize and make our region more clean and efficient. The main challenge now we are facing is how to improve the renewable energy that we produce and use, because we are very behind our goals as a region, as Italy, the nation, and also at European level. And we faced several problems with that. And let me say that I didn't see in the audience comments one factor that, in my opinion, is very crucial. We can have technology, we can have money, but if we don't consider the social acceptance of the plants that are producing energy and also industries, we lose, because we need to make a transition together with people. And in our country, also in our region, it's very difficult to change the mind of people, to have new plants installed. And a lot of efforts are now dedicated to make all the people, also between policymakers from different areas, to discuss and agree about that. So I think that we should remember that people and public engagement in this process is very crucial. And we are working on that in several projects. Thank you.
Absolutely. Broad spectrum buy-in is essential to get these things moving. Why not come to you next? Give us your opening remarks. Tell us what you're working on.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vana Raita. I'm cluster manager in Transylvania Energy Cluster, but also I am senior researcher at the only National Institute for Research located in northwest of Romania. I'm also the president of Smart Transylvania, which is a cluster association of northwest Romanian clusters. We have more than 40 members. Most of them are private companies, and we are working mainly on research and innovation, on digital transformation, and accelerating the energy transition of the companies. But also we are part of M100 mission from European Commission, together with Cluj-Napoca municipality. We try to find more solution for producing energy and to make this energy transition, to accelerate this for our city. So we are part of also of Net Zero Coalition at a local level. We are part of a European network, Trek Donau is called. It's formed by a cluster located on Danube River. We have a lot of initiatives in energy efficiency, decarbonisation, and so on. I'm very happy to be here with you and to share our insights related to that. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to those as well. Stefan, the Enterprise Europe Network is one of our organizers today, so falls to you. Why? Why is it important?
Yeah, thanks. I'm representing the Northern Danish EU office as an international business consultant, primarily working within the green industry to helping companies in this transition. But I'm also the project lead for the EEN project called EE Energy, where we are distributing grants to companies to help them overcome these barriers we are discussing right now. And one of the things I really want to do today is to share with you some of the insights we have learned on how to support companies in this process. We are fairly early on, 1.5 years into the project. It's a 3-year project, but we have some initial results I think are interesting, at least when it comes to this industrial Clean Deal discussion right now. And of course, in Northern Denmark, CO2 clean tech is a very strong position, something we have a strong focus on as well in the region.
Well, let's go straight to some concrete examples if you have them.
Yeah.
Anna, let me ask you, and we'll do another round just to hear from you about what specific initiatives you have that are aligned with the Clean Industrial Deal's objectives and measures. So what sort of things that are going hand in hand with that deal?
So what we did when we started our cluster project a few years ago was that we analyzed the carbon footprint of our industrial park, scope 1, 2, 3, and we identified the most important levers in order to decarbonize the industrial park. We came up with 12 levers we are focusing on, and now we are analyzing what are the developments with regard to this defossilization options. What is the technological readiness level? What is the business case behind? And we have realized that for quite a few of those levers, we don't have the prerequisites yet. For instance, for us, green hydrogen would be a very important topic. But in Germany, we will have the pipelines for transporting it only by 2030. We need a lot of green electricity. And if you would like to go this defossilization with electricity path, but in Germany, we do not have the national grid ready yet in order to come with a total transformation on that. So we realized that a lot of those basic requirements for having a large-scale CO2 reduction are not met yet. And we can't, as we've got a huge energy demand, meet all those requirements on our own. So what we understand and we're heavily engaging in is that we are focusing on the linkages we are having as an industrial park to the regional environment and to the national environment in order to accelerate those the building of the infrastructure. That's one part. That would be more the defossilization part. The other part, the growth part, is that we are as well experimenting with regard to carbon capture technologies, and we do have as well sustainable air fuels that are produced on site. So we are coming up with green technologies as well, and we understand an industrial park as an innovation hub where you can scale up those technologies that come out of the lab and that they are tested in an industrial setting. So we've got a variety of projects there.
Katja, same question to you. I mean, what projects can you tell us about in a little bit more detail?
Okay, considering that there is no one solution, we need to face different projects and sectors. But let me mention that we are involved in two very big horizon projects about carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Hercules and Encase, and together with one of our members, a research center named LEAP. And our role in these huge partnerships is to work on the public engagement, to discuss at regional level about the technology. In the meantime, our research centers are working on technology, but we need to discuss, to let know to policymakers, the public, people, and industries, the potential of this technology to reduce the emission, in particular from the hard-to-abate sector that in our region is quite developed. We have ceramic and cement plants, waste-to-energy plants. So this is several initiatives that we are promoting about carbon capture, utilization, and storage. And regarding the renewable energies, we published some days ago a white paper about agrivoltaic, because we think that in our region we have a huge potential, but there are no agreement between policymakers from different areas, transport, environment and territory, energy, and agriculture. So we try to put all together to discuss this together with researchers and companies in order to use this potential and also improve the quota of renewable energy produced. For the future years, we will work also in energy storage. That is another technology that we need to improve in Italy and also in Europe, as far as I know. Yeah.
Anna, and in your case, Anna, what's the big project that might be a sort of, if you like, an example of what we're doing?
Yes, actually, next month our cluster celebrates 10 years. In this time, we switch from topic to another in the energy domain, but the most important project for us is for sure the one we managed to create, the only infrastructure exclusively dedicated to research in renewable energy. We have a 1 megawatt installed power of photovoltaics and small wind turbine. Is a park exclusively dedicated, as I said, to research. Our company members could come and test their software, their products, ideas, anything there. And the energy produced is tested in an industrial park, is located in a Cluj Innovation Park. It's an area in our city. And we try to create a transition also of this industrial park to a more greener and clean. But also we are involved in the European Digital Innovation Hub in Transylvania, in which we accelerate digital transformation and we try to create opportunities for the energy companies to secure their data, because also security of the data in energy domain is very important. And as Katja say, the citizen involvement is very important in this process of energy transition. And in Net Zero City project, we are trying to involve the citizen of Cluj-Napoca municipality. We organize public debates. Also, we go in the metropolitan area of Cluj, because a lot of people from the metropolitan area work in Cluj-Napoca, and we make trainings in order to raise their awareness regarding consumption and how to be more efficient and how to decrease their energy consumption, because when we are talking about energy efficiency, reducing the energy production is one of the steps. So mainly these are our direction, but as I said before, we are very focused on research and innovation cluster, and we try to help our company and put our expertise from researchers and university members in order to create competitiveness and to make them more innovative. Thank you.
Stefan, finally to you for this round again. Give us some concrete examples.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are working with this EE Energy project where we are providing companies with small funds, 10,000 euros, if they can reduce the energy consumption in their organizations with more than 5%. It's a cascade grant. It's reimbursed after they have documented the savings. Now, what we have learned so far is that when advisors work closely with companies, they encourage them to start thinking about sustainability. They heighten the skill levels of the companies. And we have constructed the Energy Project as a random control trial, bringing in the World Bank as the data collection in this organization. They are the one analyzing the data here. But the smart thing is we can actually compare what is the situation of these companies that we have both been giving grants and then did not receive. And what we can see is that even though that they did not receive grants from us, they still do high investments. So giving them knowledge, skills, making companies the ability to understand the business case of doing energy transition is highly important here. I agree with Katja that the public institutions needs to be involved in this. We need to bring in people, but we also need to tell companies, hey, this is good for business. And as soon as they see this is good for business, they will do investments.
Well, Stefan, let me stay with you, and we'll come back to the others, because I know Hannah has mentioned some of the challenges in his area, but let's talk about the challenges. I mean, if you make the business case, if you build a business case, they will come. But why is that difficult? And what are the challenges and barriers that businesses may face?
Because to be honest, small and medium-sized enterprises, they're not good at thinking about energy. They're good at producing a product and selling it to customers. That's why they're there. They don't think about energy. They just plug in and then they get electricity. So what we do is we try to take these discussions with them. We try to tell them, hey, this is a cost as everything else, and we can actually manage it. So by providing them small knowledge courses or learning discussions, consultancy services, we can start a process where they tend to focus on this. We are visiting, I think I visit more than 200 companies a year on this matters. And what I can see is that just by explaining the business cases in energy efficiency, some of them, they can have a return of investment in less than a year, in investment of maybe up to 50,000 euros. They should have been doing this for years. No one didn't really think about it because they were so focused on selling products or finding suppliers. And that's what businesses are for. It's making money on the product that they do. So we need to help them see the potential here.
I suppose with the advent of clean tech, there are more opportunities for savings. So in some cases, perhaps some of those businesses have leapfrogged into getting more efficient. Katja, you've raised your hand. So
just to say that I totally agree with Stefan, and we in the cluster trying to match the needs from SMEs in particular. We have a lot of SMEs active in our region with the knowledge that is in our research center and also other companies that are providing the service that Stefan is speaking about. And we also use the European funds to do that. We have another project named Credit that is an Interreg Central Europe project, and we try to mapping the capacity at our countries to provide a service to the companies they need, and we also are mapping the needs from companies to matching these two parts of the situation is one of the cluster job. And the other hand, we have training institutions that are putting money organizing training, upskilling and reskilling training about that in our region with a lot of European money also. So there are several courses about that in our region, but it's very difficult to engage companies because, as Stefan said, they are totally committed to produce, and sometimes in an old way fashion that is let apart the updating on this kind of best practice and tools to make the companies more efficient. Yeah, so totally agree.
Hannes, you've raised your hand as well. I suspect it's to agree or to build on what you're already hearing.
Yes, I would like to add two aspects to that. So the first one is that we do have this techno-economical discourse in how can we make the business case for the transformation. And of course, their skills are of utmost importance, and you do have all those investments. But that's one part. And the more you're focusing on today's business, you have to follow this engineering and business administration topic. But the other aspect is as well of importance. In Frankfurt, we've got the situation that we've got international or global companies with global goals to be climate neutral by 2050. We do have Germany intending to be climate neutral by 2045. And we do have the city of Frankfurt who intends to be climate neutral by 2035. So meaning you've got a variety of different stakeholders with different time horizons, and you need to engage in those discourse as well. And this is not only about technology and business case, it's as well about policy making, what is possible, what are the requirements. So I think we do have two of those separate discourses we need to manage as cluster managers there. It's not only one, it's both.
Well, let's talk about energy intensive industries in particular. And I know, Stefan, you mentioned SMEs. Are they generally in energy intensive industries, or is there a definite clear divide?
No, 30% of the companies we are supporting in our projects are energy intensive industries. Yeah. From the we have analyzed close to 1,000 of the companies right now. We have 3,000 applicants for the program. Half of them, 1/3 of them will be funded. But what we see from the tentative data right now is that for energy intensive industries, we have a multiplier effect in the investment of 8 to 10 times the grant amount. So for instance, before, when we asked the question, what are we needing here? People are saying we need more public money. I would say, no, we need to spend public money very wisely and give incentives. And one of the issues here is that we always create grants where we ask people to bring co-financing. Instead, we should tell them, hey, we will give you money if you have the best project here with a high investment amount. We don't, because what we can see from our project is that co-financing of the money we give them is less than 10%, because they invest a lot of money as soon as they understand there's a very good opportunity here for us. So we need to both give people money, but we also need to give energy intensive industries the understanding of how can we actually come about this.
Anna, let me bring you in here, because we talk about energy intensive industries, and perhaps that's where some of the low hanging fruit is in terms of where efficiencies can be made. But that doesn't mean we leave other companies behind or leave them out of the equation.
Yes, at the local level, as I told you before, we organized, we have an association, Smart Transylvania, which is part from 5 clusters in different industry. That's why I think that I agree with all the people before me said here, but it's very important to address the exact need, to particularize the need of an industry. For example, furniture needs energy efficiency of in process automation of wood. is different kind of needs in different industries. That's why we address their needs particularly, but also very important is the policy recommendation and the policy regulation, because now we are trying to create energy communities. For example, in Romania, we want to address an energy community in metropolitan area of Cluj-Napoca, but the law, it's not our friend. We are at the beginning. It's a public debate now, this law regarding energy communities, but we hope in the future we can create, because every industry, if you create your own energy and you the consumption is at the place of the production, it's more efficient, and you can cut the storage and for transport, and everything will be cleaner and everything will be better for your company. But our members try to help the others members from the other clusters to accelerate the energy transition. For example, I think that policy recommendation is important. I saw a question in the chat how you can make aware of this issue for the companies. I think that the law must be in that direction in order to make them to create sustainability plan and to try to calculate the carbon footprint and so on, because if they are obliged to do this, they will do it, and they can have in us a partner, and also our expertise is at their needs. So I think this is collaboration is the key in order to accelerate energy transition.
Indeed, I'm looking at that question in the chat as well from Ricardo, asking how do you catch the attention of companies, particularly when they are so focused on their own core business? Katja, do you have any ideas? How do we grasp the attention of the companies? You talked about getting buy-in from society. Can you use the same methods?
I think that we need to think more about the value chain. So the small and medium enterprises need the big enterprises to stay in the business now. So the green procurement, public but also private, will be a leverage for the SMEs, because if you want to provide services or material or products to a big company that is, of course, decarbonizing, in Italy, you now need to do something on your business. So this is a leverage. And also the training, because I think that they struggle to understand the benefits, and we have to adapt the training programs to them. So speaking about best practice, example, numbers, and sometimes it's difficult to make together policymaker, companies, research center, and service providers to speak the same language. So the challenge is to improve the open innovation, the dialogue, and the collaboration. I agree with that. And of course, I'm working in a cluster. That is our job. But yeah, this is weak. We need to reinforce that collaboration and the dialogue. Yeah.
Stefan, are you going to take the same question?
Actually, I just wanted to follow up on what Katja said and maybe ask a question for the rest of the panelists, because I don't think anyone participating here disagree that education is important. We need to give them these skills, but I think most of us also understand that you cannot teach someone something if they don't see the need for it. So the need is highly important here. Now, how do we stress this? From my point of view, I'm an economist by training, but I focus primarily on how business makes money. I see it as a cost perspective. If they pay a lot of money for energy, they will be interested. But do we have other things we could do to increase the awareness that this is important?
Anas, do you have any thoughts on this in terms of getting businesses along for the ride, as it were?
So fully agree that money is key, and making the business case of cost reduction due to energy efficiency, I think that's core. And we do have other companies who need to make their climate pledge public, and they need to show what activities they are undertaking in order to follow those science-based target initiatives. And there are situations where sometimes they do not choose the cheapest solution in order to fulfill their goals for the financial market, but they spend more money. But this is the same rationale. Finally, it's about improving your competitive position. It's either through direct profit or through the stock shares.
Well, I see Ricardo, who asked the question, saying that it can't be just more regulation because SMEs are tired of that. Well, we know indeed that the Commission is trying to cut some of this red tape. That's possibly a topic for a future cluster. So perhaps more of a carrot than a stick is needed in certain cases. Annie is asking, if return on investment is so high, what about giving loans, private or public, instead of funding and subsidies? Stefan, the economist, would you like to tackle that question first?
No, I think Annie definitely has a point here. And the reason why we have constructed our project as a random control trial, bringing in the World Bank to do data analysis this year, is that we want to do policy recommendation based on learnings that are essential due to, does this really have an effect? And I believe that this is one of the recommendations we will come up with, saying that if return of investment is so high, maybe we don't need to give them a lot of money. We need to give them an incentive to start. And money is just a good way of getting in contact with companies. If you call them and tell them, hey, I can give you 10,000 euros, people tend to listen. And then we can start a process here. But it's a long client journey. We need to work with them for a consecutive amount of time in order to get this adopted into the organizations.
Yes, Alana.
Yes, also best practices and showcases in order to make them aware that others succeed to decrease their cost, for example, because yes, it's always about the money. But I like to answer regarding policy regulation. I didn't mean an obligativity for the company, and I think about a regulation which help them to be more aware of this. Like I said, an example of energy communities, there is no regulation for energy sharing, for example. In an industrial park, there are a lot of companies located there, and they can share their energy if they put money together to create an energy production plant. They can share this energy in order of the energy need of consumption. So regulation regarding this for helping company not to increase the bureaucracy, because we all know that it's big already. But also I think that this is the issue, to show that it's possible, to show that in different industry like automation, automotive, and so on, you can decrease your cost for energy with not very much amount of incentives, because only maybe also a behavior change in your companies with your employees and so on. We make these trainings regarding energy consumption and awareness of this to our companies. We try to help them to become more efficient in their day-to-day business. So thank you.
Hannes, can I come back to you to talk about this question of funding? I mean, we asked in our, as I say, very unscientific Slido poll what the different challenges were. Do you have any sense of whether challenges for funding are different from sector to sector? Is there a particular size of business that struggles more than others? We talk about SMEs a lot, but is it perhaps more the upper mid-size that has ease of getting this sort of funding, and it's the smaller ones that don't?
I think one core aspect is there the access to funding and the selection process from European money, for instance. I think small and medium-sized companies, they typically don't have the resources to be part of such a consortium. And even we do have different companies on site, Celanese from the US, Sanofi from France, for instance, Kuraray from Japan. But we do have the research and production facilities here in Europe, in Frankfurt. We do not necessarily have the funding officers. The question on how can we write this kind of proposal, where can we create this kind of consortium in order to access the money is really, really important. Even though there might be 100 million whatever euro, it's not necessarily accessible. Our solution there is that we are saying we are an innovation hub, we do have the industrial partners, and we would like to partner up, but we rely on others to take the lead in developing the proposal, and then we are happy to join because we do not have the resources. And I think to a certain degree, it's really a challenge or a problem that we already have some kind of industry for proposal writing in order to have access to the money to transform it. So I think this can't be the most efficient way of supporting the transition. So ease of access to public money or other kinds of funding, I think that is really important. Otherwise, the small and medium-sized companies, they can't do it.
Katja, let me come to you to talk about the state of the art, as it were, in green tech or clean tech. When we've talked about it a lot, how advanced are we? I mean, are we at the stage where the early adopters have already done all their work? Are there, incremental gains at this point? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would like also to put at attention some other problem that are facing industries with an area approach, for example, that are trying to produce hydrogen as a long-term storage for renewable energy. Let me say that one of the problems is that if you try now in Italy to produce hydrogen from green renewable energy, one of the problems is the shortage of availability, for example, in the procurement of electrolyzers. To have in our region an electrolyzer, we need years. So, as for example, we have a member that is implementing a project here in the region to produce hydrogen. Is a big multi-utility that is energy providers, but they are waiting still for the electrolyzer, and we need to use the money until 2027. And they have no availability for electrolyzer in our region. That is one problem. So critical raw material availability, the supply chain, that is a problem sometimes to the clean tech technologies. And also, on the other hand, the price that this company is calculating to sell the green hydrogen is very high, related to the gray hydrogen. So we need investments and the public money to, for example, to make the business with hydrogen sustainable for the companies. So there are several problems on that also. So we have some companies that are implementing projects, but is not feasible at economic level up to now in Italy. So we need to produce electrolyzer in Europe to increase the production of energy storage technologies and to make the prices competitive with other, for example, kind of hydrogen colors, let me say. So this is another point of view of the question that I would like to bring to the table for the discussion.
I see another question in the chat that, Katja, you've somewhat gone somewhere to answering. A question regarding flexibility in the energy-intensive industries. How can companies be encouraged to change their production patterns and invest in accommodating facilities? I suppose this is looking a little bit upstream in terms of business practices. Who would like to tackle that? Stefan, perhaps I'll call on you since I don't see any hands raised.
It's fair. It's fair. Of course, this is a very, very tough question. Because there are no easy answers to this. And I think first we need to ask ourselves, why does company come to us? Because, they didn't have to. I know some of them are placed in clusters where you are located, so you meet them probably in the canteen, but they are not required to. So we need to offer them something that helps them in these cases. And when it comes to flexibility, we are discussing innovation here. We need to discuss what's going on, how are we handling these situations, and what new type of knowledge needs to be developed or implemented in your situation so we can handle it. So there's no doubt that the clusters represented here play a key role, especially in this. But we need to remember energy-intensive industries has a high variety among them as well. Some of them are very big, some of them are very small. And it also depends on the operation of what they are doing. So it's not really an answer. It's just saying that, of course, this is a tough one. And if we had an easy answer, we should do a webinar on that instead, learning everybody how to do it.
Thank you. Hannes, before I come to you, I'll just remind everyone that we're approaching 9:30. So if you have a few questions left to our panels, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A function now before we go for a final wrap up after this. But Hannes, I'll get your answer to that question first.
Yeah, I understood the question in the sense that are there options that you create flexibility in your production processes, depending on the energy cost, if you've got solar or wind energy, this could mean that you're changing, depending on the energy prices, your production processes. And whether that's an option or not depends very much on the technology specifics of your production activities. In the chemical industry, for instance, you very often have a continuous production where you're producing with fluids continuously, like cooking, right? And that's something you need to do continuously in order to have the lowest cost. So you can't stop it or just do it when the sun is shining. But there are other industries where you've got more of this discrete manufacturing, or where you've got separate parts where you could dry a specific activity. There you can have more flexibility in the production process, and then you can benefit from the different cost of energy. So it depends on the technology you're having, to what degree you can benefit from that.
Well, we've focused a lot on energy, and I see Federico has put a question in regarding the raw materials element of the Clean Industrial Deal, asking for anyone on the panel, how do you assess the EU's capabilities in sourcing secondary raw materials in Europe? Anyone want to tackle this question? Who's going to go for it? Okay, Stefan.
I just wanted to mention that this is an essential part of what EEN does, the Enterprise Europe Network. We are located in all regions. We have consultants there. So what we do is that we help these sourcing processes. Of course, until now, it hasn't been a strong focusing on raw materials, but I'm quite sure that from the next period after summer, this will have an even stronger focus within the EEN network as well.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go to a sort of final wrap-up question that I had prepared, which is, what opportunities does the deal create for cross-border cooperation and interregional cooperation? Katja, can I start with you for that?
Yeah, I think that we at the European level need to thinking like we are European, not Italian, Romanian, German. We need to reinforce our being a unique entity, not just politically, but also economically at the research level. And it's not easy because of our historical and cultural background. So normally I see that even in our region, we think a lot about our region, what to do in our region with our money and our knowledge. But I think that we need to collaborate better between us and thinking about how to improve our global at European level capacity to, for example, substitute critical raw material, to put together the efforts for research that allow us to recycling raw material and make the life of battery, for example, longer, and trying to find some solution for the second life batteries. We are doing that. I think that our research centers are doing well about that, but I see not enough collaboration between the region in Europe. I don't know how to make that stronger. Is a challenge that we are trying to face also as a clusters and today discussing. But I think that we need to do better and more. Yeah.
Oh, Anna, same question to you. I see you nodding along with what Katja is saying, because of course, decarbonisation is a Europe-wide aim, so we do need a bit more cross-border.
I agree. And related to what Stefan said, every country have different raw materials, and we must put together and we must share, or also not only expertise, but also raw materials in order to create value and to make Europe stronger. Because, like Katja said, it's an issue. It's very important to be together and to create opportunities for cooperation, also public-private opportunities in order to involve public authorities, research institutes, universities to be stronger and to accelerate this transition, not only at the energy level, but also at the competitiveness and anything related value chain and increasing this value chain at Europe level. So I totally agree with this. Opportunity of cooperation must be enhanced at the Europe level, not only national, regional, and so on.
Stefan, to you, given your organization, I presume you have some thoughts on this.
I think I have two main points I want to say here. First is that we need to use regulation as a tool for collaboration. I know the Commission with the Clean Industrial Deal has cut down on regulations for SMEs to reporting on the CSRD directive. To me, that's a good thing. We work with these companies on a daily basis. It's hard for them, but we just need to remember they're not off the hook here, because the big companies still need to report, meaning that all the suppliers big companies are to report in the same way. Now the Commission can say, we are not the one forcing you to do this. It's your customers who are forcing you. Yeah, but it's still the same task for them. We need to help them here. We cannot leave on this, because it's important for the SMEs to get on board on this as well. And then I want to mention just one thing, that everyone here, I think you are at some point involved in policy discussions, either on a regional, local, national, or an international level. We need to be the one keep raising the flag, saying we don't need local regulations that have been taken care of by the European Union. Hannes mentioned this tremendously effective, saying that Frankfurt has their own, Germany has their own, the region has their own. We don't need this. We need common regulation going abroad for all the countries here, and we need to work with those regulations locally as well. So we need to be the one constantly reminding that there are regulations to be used. We don't need to protect our local community more by doing different regulations here.
Well, Hannes, I'm going to come to you because you didn't weigh in on this, but to wrap up the panel, and what would be your key takeaway that you would like the attendees to be thinking about?
So I think one part is having best practice sharing, and I just shared the Hub for Circularity initiative, where you can have access to best practices on how different industry hubs are changing themselves. So best practice sharing in order to defossilize. I think that's one part. But I think we have to focus much more as well on the topic of the growth opportunities of those new technologies. We need to have a positive winning story of the transformation. We have to focus not only on decarbonisation, but how can we get new jobs on a worldwide scale in order to defossilize and have more prosperity in Europe as well. And I think that as well a part we have to strengthen much more. That it's not only about defending the status quo, but for building up something new and better for all of us. I think this entrepreneurial perspective is very often missing if we're just focusing on how can we preserve something.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's a good place to wrap up our panel discussion. Thank you all so much for handling those questions. Thanks everyone for putting your questions in the chat. And I also see, Hannes, you've been sharing quite prolifically links to people, so do go back and check those out. We're going to now, as always, hand over to Nina for the funding opportunities. And Nina, that was something we talked about. So funding, as always, hugely important. Take it away.
Indeed, and many thanks. We would just to wrap up today's event, share some open calls that are, I think, fitting quite well into the discussion. There is the Innovation Fund Net Zero Technologies called for Clean Tech Manufacturing, which supports the construction and operation of manufacturing facilities for clean tech components. So activities that can be funded under this call are manufacturing of clean tech components for renewable energy, energy storage, or heat pumps. And you have the option to focus your activities on innovation in the manufacturing products to lower costs, to improve performance, or to enhance the production process. And of course on recycling and circular economy to reuse critical materials used in clean tech manufacturing. This call is open until the 24th of April, and we put the link in the chat so you can have a look at the details. And there's the general decarbonisation call under the same fund, which aims to fund innovative low-carbon technologies and processes to reduce the climate change impact on industries. Here you have the option to either submit a large-scale project, a medium-scale project, or a small-scale project to focus your activities on innovation in low-carbon technologies and processes, but also carbon capture and storage, what we talked about today, innovative renewable energy and energy storage technologies, hydrogen for industry, and the decarbonisation in maritime and aviation. Same deadline. The links to these different projects are in the chat. Then there is a call open for the demonstration of stationary fuel cells in renewable energy communities. The energy community is something that Oana mentioned. Here, this focuses on showcasing hydrogen-based energy generation to improve energy efficiency, grid reliability, and community empowerment for the clean energy transition. For example, the project can contribute to support the industrialization of fuel cell technology, demonstrate hydrogen-based combined heat and power systems, reduce energy costs and emissions, and empower citizens. Important to notice that one partner must at least be part of the Hydrogen Europe or Hydrogen Europe research. The deadline is the 23rd of April, and this is also published on the EU Funding and Tenders portal. And one call is specific for hydrogen, which has the title Innovative Hydrogen and Solid Carbon Production from Renewable Gases, Biogenic Waste Processes. As the title of the call says, this is to convert renewable gases, biogenic solid waste, and advanced feedstocks into hydrogen. And the project should contribute to advance low-emission technologies for the conversion, strengthen European technology capabilities for clean hydrogen and carbon production, and of course contribute to resource efficiency and enhance energy security while reducing geological risks. Same deadline, also same requirement to have a member of Hydrogen Europe or Hydrogen Europe Research, and it is also published on the EU Funding and Tenders. And last but not least, there are still a few calls open from our Eurocluster initiatives. Have a look at those open calls. There are this is direct financial support to SMEs or support in form of services, networking, or training. We have from these Euroclusters calls open, something related to water smart solutions, also to the creative industries. Ingenious is giving training grants to improve digital skills and to improve the green transition. And we also have a call open related to the polymer recycling industries. So have a look at this for concrete opportunities for SMEs. And of course, we will inform you about any upcoming calls as well on the ECCP website from the Euroclusters. And with that, I give the floor back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Nina. Lots of, as you say, very relevant funding opportunities there. So check them all out. And of course, the links are in the chat. Do also register for the next talk, which is on the 26th of March, looking at clusters and SMEs in the EU's simplification agenda, understanding the omnibus packages, something quite a lot of us are trying to do at the moment. And indeed, we did mention cutting bureaucracy and red tape. So if you're interested in that, make sure you attend that talk. And as always, you can continue the conversation online. You can go to the European Cluster Collaboration platform on LinkedIn. There's a general discussion group there. If you're not on LinkedIn, there are other social media platforms, and you can follow along on X at clusters_.eu. LinkedIn is that European Cluster Collaboration platform, or you can go directly to the website, clustercollaboration.eu, or whichever social media platform you plan to use for whatever reason. You can use the hashtag EU Clusters Talks or hashtag ECCP. But thank you very much for everyone's input today. Have a lovely afternoon.